What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Ovens Garage. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install this new front box spring hanger. I got this from Archive Garage. It's a really stout hanger. It replaces both the front stock spring hangers on these old first gens. The reason that I'm doing this is because the front driver's side spring hanger actually cracked. The bracket above the spring hanger cracked and the whole spring hanger was moving front to back when I steer the truck. And so I have a good video showing this. I'll pop in here right now and show you that when I turn the steering wheel, you can actually see the entire spring hanger move forward and backwards. So that kind of got me a bit nervous, and I wanted to really beefing up the front end. There's a couple different companies that make spring hangers. We got Archive Garage, Far From Stock, and Hogback Fab that all make front spring hangers for these trucks. I decided to go, actually there's also Jungle Gym on Ram Charger Central, but I decided to go with the Archive Garage hanger because I wanted to go with a one-piece design. Jungle Gym also has a one-piece design, but just looking at the designs, I feel like this is the strongest, and this is the route that I decided to go. So I've got this front hanger I'm going to do today, and then I've also got front hanger from Archive Garage, and then these two pieces here I got from Jungle Gym on Ram Charger Central because the driver's side on mine was cracked. Right about here where the rivet sits. All comes with nice new grade 8 hardware from Archive Garage and Jungle Gym. The bushings I also got from Archive Garage. Doesn't come as a part of the kit for the front box hanger, but he does include these 5/8 grade 8 bolts with lock nuts that you can put on your new or put on your springs. And just a note here, with the Archive Garage setup, you have a couple different options for mounting holes for your springs. So you can upgrade to, I think they're longer Chevy springs, but with the stock orientation, you use the rearmost hole. And you can, you know, if you decide to upgrade later in the future, you can use one of these holes. So let me flip this over and I'll show you the other side. Okay, here's the other side of the front box spring hanger. You can see it's really well made. It's powder coated too. And I just like the design, one-piece design. These brackets from Jungle Gym go right there, and on the stock setup there's one rivet that goes from this piece, I'll show you, on the frame that goes down to the spring hanger. And now with this, even though they had two holes there, they only used one rivet in the factory. So I'm going to put 2 bolts there, and then there's 3 bolts that go onto the frame side. And then once I have this entire front box spring hanger on, after I'm going to put a steering box brace on, and then on the rear of the front springs, I got these from Hogback Fab. I'm going to replace the spring hangers at the back. And these all have nice new bushings, upgraded bolts to 5/8, 1/2-inch bolts for the frame, and it's just a nice beefy design. And these hangers too, I believe, are like 1 inch longer, so you get about a 1/2 inch or so lift on the front of your truck, just to level it out a bit. All right, so I'll take you out to the truck and we'll start to disassemble the front suspension. A couple of specialty tools I forgot to mention that you're going to need for this project. Like me, I don't have a garage. I'm working outside under a tree. But the hardest parts of this job is going to be lifting up the frame so you can drop the axle and the springs, and then taking out some of the factory rivets. So apparently the best way to take out the factory rivets is with a air chisel. So I picked this up at Princess Auto, and if that doesn't work, I've got a cutoff disc with some cutoff wheels to grind an X in the top, and then use a chisel to punch them out of the frame. You're also going to want some tall jack stands so you can lift up the frame of the truck. So I've got 2 12-ton jack stands, which are really tall, 2 6-ton jack stands, and then I have a couple other smaller jack stands. All right, let's get to it. All right, so I'm going to jack up the truck and put it onto these 12-ton jack stands right at the front of the frame. Here, because the new spring hanger is going to come up and use this bolt, I just put the jack stand just in front of that on both sides. And then for safety, extra safety, I put 2 more at the back just on the frame rail, just in case these ones decide to let go at any point, for extra safety. So now that I've jacked up on the frame and let the jack back down, the axle's now hanging just off the leaf springs, and I can loosen these front spring hanger bolts. I've got to drop the front shocks. Alright, looks like I'm gonna have to drop the wheel, or take the wheel off. Alright, so the sway bar end links had to come off too, because they were causing issues. There we go. Okay, so one thing you want to be careful of here is not to put too much tension on that flex brake line that comes down to your axle. I just had enough room to drop it below the hangers so I can change those bushings and then put in the new spring hangers without having to bleed the brakes or disconnect the brake lines. All right, now here you can see the reason why I'm doing all this. That should not be doing that. See how this one is? That one's tight. At this point I'm gonna take, there's 3 rivets holding this on, and then I'm gonna try and take this piece off that has 3 rivets on the top, and then there's 1 rivet attaching it to the hanger, to this bottom hanger right up there. All right, so I zipped the heads of all 3 off here, and now I'm going to take the chisel, or so the punch attachment on the air hammer and try and punch those out. Okay, quick update here. Driver's side, 1, 2, and 3 rivets off. Got both the hangers off. Just got to clean up the rivets out of these holes, and then I'm gonna try and get these outer plates off of each side, which each have 3 rivets. So I think I'm gonna come from the bottom side with an air hammer with the chisel attachment and see if I can get those rivets loose. This is taking a while. I'm probably at it like 2 hours now just for those 2 hangers, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Alright, mission success here. I've got both of these upper side brackets off, and now I can take the new brackets from Jungle Gym and loosely fit them in there, see if the bolts all work out. So all these bolt holes, or the new bolts, are 1/2 inch and they don't fit in here, so we're gonna have to drill these holes up to 1/2 inch. There we go. Okay, so in order to get the archive bracket on, I've got to drill out these holes to 1/2 inch. They're a little small, and then I got to take out this bolt on both sides and probably drill that out to 1/2 inch, and then I'll be able to put up the archive bracket loosely, make sure everything fits nice, and then we'll start torquing things down. Alright, before I put that archive hanger on, I've actually determined a couple things. I need to torque these down because I won't have access to them for the outside brackets before I put that big hanger. And then I'm also going to change out the front leaf spring eye bushings before I put the box hanger on, because the box hanger hangs down a little bit low and I don't want it to get in my way. For a bit of grease on the inside. Grease on the new bushing. So I'm going to tighten down these outer bolts for these upper brackets to 100 foot-pounds. Just to note that top nut right there, the bolt had to be shortened a little bit on the grinder because it would hit this inner cross member. So I had to shorten that bolt. This is on the driver's side. I'm assuming it's going to be the same on the passenger side. It's pretty tight in there. Also, I couldn't use the washer because I couldn't get the nut on in that case. Alright, at this point we can tighten down all the hanger bolts to about 80 foot-pounds. Right, the whole front box is torqued down now, and so I can lift back up the axle, put the axle bolts in at the front, and reassemble the front suspension shock sway bar. Alright, I got them lined up and putting the front bolts on for the leaf springs, and then we'll torque these guys down. Just have to figure out what the torque spec is here first. Alright, I found the best way to align the front leaf spring hole was to use a combination of these drift pins, and then I ground the old front bolt kind of into a little bit more of a narrow piece so I could jam it in and then hammer it through, and then run my good bolt back through. I'm going to set these nuts and bolts on the front springs to 120 foot-pounds. Looks like my sway bar and links need replaced. Now we're ready to do a little bit of testing. So I'm going to first dry steer it on the ground, see if there's any play up by the steering box, up by any brackets or bushings. And then we'll go for a drive and see if I can put the camera underneath where the steering box is and see if we can see any play. Alright, I've got the GoPro underneath the front
looking at the steering box and the new front box hanger. And then we've got me inside the cab. We're gonna do a first impressions drive. I don't really expect there to be too much of a difference. Maybe it will be a little bit tighter because of the fact that the driver's side hanger's tightened up a bit, but we'll see. So, a little bit of bubbly, started off right. We'll get our first impressions here. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Hope not. To be honest with you, right away I'm noticing a difference in the amount of play in the steering column, I guess. Now mind you, it's still like a 4 to 1 or 4 full turns lock to lock to get the tires to turn. But what I'm noticing right away is the play right off the bat when you turn your steering wheel, very minimal. And I'm suspecting it's primarily because of that hanger being loose. I wonder how long it's going to take before I lose my GoPro. That was a big project, not gonna lie. I probably could have got it done in 2 days. So if I started on Saturday, I probably could have finished it by Sunday night. The hardest part of that job was definitely the rivets. If you had a good air compressor and a good air hammer, you could probably make easy work of those rivets, but my air compressor is just a little bit too small that it took me a little while to get those rivets out. But it was a combination of the drill, the grinder, the air hammer, just to get those rivets out. And then as soon as those rivets were out, it was pretty easy to put up the new bracket. The bracket didn't align with the Jungle Gym hangers, unfortunately. I had to file out, as you can see, or use the burr grinder to open up the holes a little bit. So, I mean, is what it is. They were off just a hair. It wasn't too bad. But overall, definitely worth it in my opinion. That front spring hanger from the factory, 3 rivets on each hanger. That's a little sketchy if you ask me, compared to, what was there, 3, 6, 7, 8, there's 10 bolts on the new front leaf spring hanger from Archive Garage. And then with those Jungle Gym reinforcement brackets on the upper side, she definitely ain't moving in the future. And then, not to mention the new front eye bushings. Do I notice a difference in ride quality with new bushings? Not really. If I'm being honest, not really. But otherwise, it's good to put in new bushings anyways. They're probably like 30 years old.